What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, he's the robot whisperer. It's Desra. I don't know what it means either.
And sitting across from me is Brian Paul.
And every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we dip into the PlayStation VR back catalog. We pick a game at random, we play the crap out of it, and let you know if it's worth your time.
Yeah.
What game did we pick this week, Desra?
This week we picked Eagle Flight.
Oh, fantastic.
I wish I had something clever there, but it's just Eagle Flight. Eagle Flight.
Is that clever?
That is.
Is it at least funny if it's not clever?
Very meta.
Meta.
Yeah, so this was a game by Ubisoft. It's actually Ubisoft.
Ubisoft. It stands for Ubiquitous Soft.
Ubiquitous Soft. I'm a professional. So, Ubisoft. I'm just gonna... Anyways, it's their first VR game.
Oh, was it?
Yes, it was.
Man, knocked it out of the park.
I know, Des Nugget right off the bat.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so as actually Olivier Palmieri, one of the designers and developers for Far Cry 4, pretty much as soon as he finished what he was doing there, he pitched the basic idea to Ubisoft, and they said, yeah, let's do this.
Excellent. So, I mean, the premise as a whole?
Yeah, actually, that's my second nugget for the, I know, right? Ooh, we take us nuggets all over the place.
I'm just going to... Somebody should clean these nuggets up. I feel like I can put my feet up and you can take the reins from here on out. This is nice.
No, I just thought it was interesting because the basic idea is you're an eagle flying through basically a post-apocalyptic Paris, but a very pretty post-apocalyptic Paris.
This is true.
But the original idea was actually just going to be a first-person flying around Notre Dame, and just Notre Dame. And eventually they were like, yeah, that's actually, I mean, that's huge. It's a pretty enormous building, but the scale is going to be a little bigger, and it turned into an eagle flying around the city of Paris.
Yeah. And you kind of touched on this a little bit. Paris is it's post-apocalyptic Paris. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because a lot of games delve into post-apocalyptia and everything burnt out buildings and this and that or whatever.
Yeah.
But this doesn't have like a Fallout look to it. This has like a kind of a stunning, beautiful look to it. It
is. It's gorgeous, and it's kind of a cartoony sort of version of it.
Cartoony, like I wrote down cartoon. I wrote down cel shaded. But but there's something dark about the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And it's because there are no more people. Yeah. It's supposed to be like 50 or 60 years after the extinction of mankind. And, and it's that weird point where like the Earth is like reclaiming the land.
Yeah.
And buildings, and also all these vines and everything are growing up inside of buildings, and just so that it's creepy because people are gone, but it's kind of beautiful at the same time.
Absolutely, and the animals that are around. I mean, there's of course the eagle, but it's not just the natural animals that would be there. Say like ducks and wolves, but there's also elephants and giraffes, and I think even lions.
I think so.
Which are all the animals that have escaped from the zoo.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's
zebra.
There are definitely zebras as well.
Yeah,
it's flying around the city. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to just be like to forget what you're doing.
Yes,
and be like that looks like a nice little alleyway over there, and fly down that alleyway and see some animals that you wouldn't expect to see in the middle of a city. And when you've I think it's just like a natural instinct to kind of like swoop by them as close as possible.
Yes.
And you just there's a weird feeling where you just like kind of connect with nature on a strange level, and you feel like you belong there.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is the control scheme, which I think we should spend some time talking about.
Sure. The
control scheme is there really isn't much of one. You're actually controlling the eagle by just tilting your head. So you look to the left, you fly to the left. You look to the right, you fly to the right. You tilt your head. You do a nice solid bank in that direction. Yeah. There are some other controls you can do with the DualShock 4, but we'll get to that. But really, most of the game is just you directing yourself where you're going, which leads to this very, we're going to use the word again. We should have a gong or something that goes off. Very immersive feeling of you actually flying. And there are levels and games and things you can do, but honestly, it's just a lot of fun to just sit there and fly around the city. It's almost meditative, actually.
It is. It's very peaceful. It's very serene. Mm-hmm. And so, even though there are levels,
yes,
you're kind of presented with this big open world of Paris. Mm-hmm. It's like your map screen, but there's so much to do on the map screen. Because all you're doing, you're selecting levels, but you can just fly around, kind of like in free flight mode, and collect things.
Yeah, there are collectibles. There are feathers and salmon.
Yeah.
The feathers are just kind of floating around, hidden. Some much more difficult than others.
Yeah.
There was actually one kind of stuck in a little alleyway that I could not, because they're designed so that if you come at it from a certain angle, you should be able to swoop in, grab it, and go.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find the right angle for this one, so I was basically, I'm just going to have to throw myself on the side of the building to get this, and I did.
Yeah, there's a lot of splats going on.
The other one are the salmon, where it's as you'll be approaching bodies of water, you see a little ripple, and the salmon will jump. And if you don't time it right, you're going to miss it, and you have to fly back out again. And so it is, I mean, for your completist type people, it is really hard to knock all these out.
And part of the timing is you do have a controller in your hands.
Yes.
And I think there's very few controls on this controller. R2 speeds you up, L2 slows you down. Eventually, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but square will squawk at an enemy, and it's like an attack.
Yeah, it's your sonic attack. It's actually it's pretty powerful. I mean, that's the thing. Like everything in the game, including you, one hit and you're dead. Yeah.
And then circle eventually again is a shield.
Yes.
So, but very minimalistic. And for the first couple hours, you're not gonna even have a squawk ability. You're just gonna be able to fly fast or slow.
Yep. Yeah. There are three. I guess. One thing actually I should have said. Going to go back to our developers. When they were developing the idea, there were 3 goals that had to hit for this. 1, comfortable. 2, intuitive. And 3, accessible.
Okay.
And for the comfortability idea, they took research that NASA had done on motion sickness and used that to help develop how they were going to let people do a first-person flight game without vomiting all over their shoes.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, because there's a couple things going on here when it comes to comfort settings.
Yes.
And I know a bunch of you have some major issues with this. All right. First and foremost, the thing that totally works for me.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever played like Moto Racer 4 or something or even Ocean's Descent, your VR headset seems like it belongs in your head because like you've got these goggles on.
Yeah.
In game, and you can kind of see the goggles, right? Or the dive mask in Ocean's Descent. And the strange thing that Eagle Flight does is it gives you a beak.
Yes.
And some feathers all around your viewpoint. And so like for some reason like the headset feels right. It feels like you're looking through the eyes of an eagle.
Well, it's not just that. Actually having the stationary fixed point.
Yeah.
That made a huge difference. They found when they were doing the developing.
It's like a cockpit.
Yeah, and actually it does totally help people with motion sickness.
And how did it? And you, who are very susceptible to motion sickness, how did you find this?
Well, this was one of the games. If you go back to the Legend of Des, when Brian first had me try out
The Legend of Des.
Yeah, PSVR. It was Eagle Flight was one of the games he had me try, and I was okay until I had to tilt my head and do the sharp bank, and immediately my stomach was like, "No, we are done with this. Take this off."
Yeah.
And so that was pretty much it until a couple weeks ago when Brian said, "Hey, let's revisit Eagle Flight." And I was like, "All right." I mean, it was beautiful. It looked great. It's a great idea for a game. Sure, I'll give it a try. I can't guarantee anything. And maybe it's because I've had more time behind the wheel, so to speak. But I really have had zero issues with this. I think. Having played some very badly implemented VR, they did a lot of great thinking. There are, we talked about the beak. There are also a little bit of kind of blinder effect, but it's a dynamic blinder. It's not always there. And not only that, it only kind of appears. So if you're swooping down past a building and the building's on your right, it sort of only appears on that side. It's not just constantly like, we've played some games where every time you move, boom, everything shrinks down on all sides all the time.
And when you watch the video that's playing behind us, it's beautiful, right? It's stunning. What just happened?
I don't know.
Okay. Man, I wish I was still in the room. What you're going to see is these blinders, and it's a lot of the times it's going to make it look like you can't, like the field of vision is very small. It's as somebody who hates blinders in games and somebody who hates all these comfort settings and immediately runs over and turns them all off or down as low as possible, this doesn't bother me. Yeah. People complain about this all the time, like all these blinders, but at no point am I like, man, this is ruining my experience.
Yeah, it's barely noticeable, honestly, once you're actually doing it. The other thing they said I thought was funny. So I hinted to death is sudden and instant. There is no, you can't take damage. You're either perfectly fine or you're dead.
Yeah.
So when you run into anything,
Splat.
one of the things, the screen immediately goes blank.
Yep.
And I guess they found that when they did maybe a little animation or just kind of like dimming out, people got super sick when you went from flying to all of a sudden stop.
Understandable.
But it does make this really, the fact that the squawk is this tiny little thing, it's almost more sad than if your character was screaming or anything, because it just came to a sudden stop and died instantly. Yeah. So it's a sad little squeak when you run into something.
Don't worry, kids. It didn't suffer.
Yeah, that's true.
So the other thing that people complain about, since we're on the complaining topic, besides the comfort settings, which are you can't turn off, is the other thing you can't do in this game, and that's land. Now, it's funny because I don't think I ever even noticed during hours of playing this game that I couldn't land until I was reading online people complaining that you couldn't land. And I was like, what do you want to do?
It's eagle flight. It's not eagle land. That's something I don't get. I mean, if you want to stop playing, you can just hit the start button and go to the menu.
Yeah.
And not even that, you can land.
Yeah, you can go to your nest.
Yeah. As you unlock nests, you can land in the nests and sit there and perch and look at your city and realize, wow, this is kind of boring. I'd rather be flying, and then go fly.
It's I don't know. I'm not going to tell people they shouldn't complain about not being able to land if you're an eagle. It's one of the many things eagles do on a daily basis, probably fairly regularly.
Yeah, but I don't complain that I can't play golf when I fire up Doom.
Yeah, but that guy's not a golfer.
Right. Well, you're eagle flight.
Okay.
Right.
I'm just saying we should address it because people have complained about it, but it's not a complaint that I have.
Yeah.
I have no issues with not being able to land. This is a game that you want to be constantly moving. This is a game that you want to be constantly exploring and trying to explore the depths of the city. And when I say the depths of the city,
oh god,
man, does it go deep.
Yeah.
Because you can fly super high up and you can they fly around to the tip of the Eiffel Tower, which is, I got to say, man, you get up there and you're like, damn, I'm really high off the ground. But then there are certain levels, right, where you race underneath the ground.
Yeah, I guess we can probably, that's a segue. So there's 3 different types of gameplay, basically. There's the tunnels, the underground races, where you're flying very fast with very constrained space.
Yep.
Especially, the catacombs. Oh my god, did you make it to that one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oof, man.
Yeah.
If you're claustrophobic or you don't like smashing into walls, this is going to drive you crazy. In fact, but you know what's funny is that I'm a little claustrophobic and I'm a little scared of heights, and this game doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Oh wow.
I'm a little scared of everything, honestly. Let's be fair here. Every VR game scares me in one degree or another. And I would say that maybe when I was at the top of the Eiffel Tower flying around, I looked down, I was like, I better get back down there a little
really?
bit.
Wow.
What if one of these wings falls off?
It's a game.
Need to be closer to the ground in case of emergency, folks. But when I'm flying underneath the city, in the catacombs, in the tunnels, subway tunnels, I think most of them are. Yep. It's fascinating because, again, it really closes you in, and this is like you want to hold R2 constantly. You want to fly as fast as possible. There are dangerous routes to take that'll speed up your time because they will give you a speed boost.
Yep.
But man, that's when you're going to start getting into real tight situations, and man, you're going to be like turning your head left and right and back and forth, and you're going to be like looking up and down really fast, and man, your neck's probably going to hurt by the end of it. But these races are actually fairly short, so even if you die 50 times, if you splat into a wall 50 times, it's like there's that addictive quality where you're like,
yes,
I know when I get this right, it's only going to take like a minute, so I'm just going to keep going until I get it right.
Yeah.
And so those are my favorite part of the game, hands down. I love racing in this game, and you're racing a clock. There's not another bird or anything.
Yeah, you're racing a lot, and actually also ghost times. So if you've got friends who play this game, there's leaderboards for every level, and you can see where you are on the leaderboard. So the other type of gameplay is there's the race through the tunnel. There's the race through, let's call it target rings.
Yeah.
So these rings that are kind of flying out in space. These are more, you're mostly above ground, kind of at the treetop level, occasionally diving into the streets.
It's little pilot wings.
Yeah.
Except more difficult.
So yeah, you've got these rings with a little target in the middle. As long as you hit the ring, you can continue going. If you hit the middle, you get a little speed boost. And yeah, but this is one where, especially the higher levels, you're like, okay, I can see the next couple of rings. This will be easy, no problem. Oh, the crap, that one's down there, and you have to suddenly dive and change direction.
It's insane that they're like just out of your peripheral. You see kind of like the side of a ring. You're like, oh crap, it's way over there. Like boom, boom. And actually, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to totally derail this.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
While we're talking about having to turn really fast and to really like do all this like almost like stunt maneuvering as an eagle. The number of times this game, I played it a little bit today just to kind of refresh my memory, and the number of times we talked about cat lateral damage last week.
Yes, we did.
And the number of times this game reminded me of cat lateral damage. Stay with me. In cat lateral damage, you're a cat. And you jump around doing all sorts of cat-like things.
Yes.
Knocking stuff off shelves. Because in my whole life, I was always like, why do cats do that? And then I figured out while playing cat lateral damage, they do it because it's fucking fun.
Okay.
Right?
So far, this is exactly like Eagle Flight.
So Eagle Flight, I was like, I've always been like, why do birds do these crazy things? Like, why do they head right toward a building and then fly right at the side of it? I was like,
that's awesome.
That sounds really dangerous. And like, do you have the potential to splat into the building? But man, the number of times that I've just been like flying directly towards something and went, and just like felt that like I'm flying up the side of a building, feeling right off the green screen is just amazing.
Yeah,
it's like it really does give you an idea of what it feels like to be an eagle.
Yeah, no, it's because I think it's because of the control scheme, because it's actually you moving your head and flying where you're looking. It just gives you that sense of flight.
Yeah,
and something that so many flight simulators and kind of games have tried to capture. I think this does it so well with just simply making it, you move where your head looks. The last type of game experience that's in there is my favorite, the combat or dogfighting.
Sure.
There are other types of birds in the sky eventually as you play your way through. The first are vultures, then bats are next, and then falcons. And they each have their own abilities. The bats can use that sonic scream at you. The falcons can set up these little wind traps. And it's so much fun. You get that, again, the sense of, really stunt flying and speeding around. But now there are other targets up in the air who are flying and trying to attack you. And you'll find, like, you're lining up your shot. Oh, they change direction. And suddenly you're banking up, flipping around sideways. I've tried, I'm big, we've talked about Rogue One games before. I like that kind of space combat, but it's never felt so natural and easy as it has in this game.
Yeah.
It's just, you don't have to worry about this crazy control screen here or your ship moving it differently where your eyes are looking. It's just where you go, you look, you fire. Yeah.
You said control scream.
Control scream. Well, because you hit the button and you control your scream. See, that wasn't a mistake. It was intentional.
Why do people watch us?
I don't know, but thank you.
So I mentioned, other than the races, my favorite thing to do in this game is I'm a huge fan of collectathons. I'm a huge fan of exploring the cities. I'm a huge fan of
that.
I'm like, and man, like, this is a massive city. It's not Paris 1-to-1. It's not, oh, I live in Paris, I can find my house. But man, it feels as big as Paris is. It's gigantic.
Yeah, it's got some pretty basic, like your big landmarks. You've got Eiffel Tower, of course, Notre Dame,
the city's all divided up, and every time you enter like another section, it's very Grand Theft Auto. Like, it pops up on the screen, it's like, oh, you entered this section.
Yeah.
But there's only one loading screen in the game, and it's kind of a long loading screen. I'll give you that. But it's as soon as you start the game up, and then after that, man, it's game on. It is open world, and it will fade to black when you choose a level. When you fly into the little landmark in the city that says, "Hey, this is a level. Go to it."
Yeah.
But other than that, there's no loading screens, and it's a very seamless experience. And it was our first glimpse at what an open world game could be like on PlayStation VR.
Yeah. One little, we talked about how great this game is, but there are some problems. There are some things I'm
you
not
can't land, Des. You can't land.
No, you do see, oh, hey, there's Notre Dame, there's whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're actually kind of down in the streets,
I'm down in the streets often. down the slums in the ghetto.
I'm hard pressed to say what part of the city I'm in. It does look kind of repetitive. Yeah. And just like, it is interesting. You're flying through the streets and all that, but then it's just like, well, you don't really. There's not a lot of diversity in the environments once you're actually down in there. Yep. The other thing is, the story mode is fairly short, maybe 4 hours at the most. Yeah. If you want to hit 3 stars, so I guess each level has like a rating. If you just I actually completed this, you'll get 1 star. If you get a decent time, 2 stars. If you beat their whatever time, you get 3 stars. Hooray!
But levels only open up once you have a certain number of stars.
Right.
So it is. There's a little bit of like, oh well, I want to beat my best time, or I want to beat their time, or I want to get as many stars. But also like to progress through the game. Mm-hmm. This next level. Well, I only have 17 stars, but I need 19. So it's time to go back and start doing better at some of those old levels. So it has a decent progression system. Right.
And even at that, once you start unlocking those levels, you do also unlock other challenge levels. Yeah. So like the story mode levels are numbered 1, 2, 3 all the way to 28, and then as you progress you start unlocking challenge levels, which are A, B, C, D and so on. So there is some more, and honestly at the time we're recording I've finished the whole story mode and I'm working my way through the challenges, so I don't know if anything else happens once you undo the challenges.
And the funny thing is that of the time of this recording I didn't know because I hadn't played this game for quite a while. Like I played a little bit here and there, but I hadn't really given it a ton of time since launch.
Yeah,
I haven't beaten the story. It's crazy. I have not beaten the story, and I have played this game way longer than you have.
Yeah,
because what I've done is I've probably spent like 7 or 8 hours with this game, and I have gone back and done those races over and over till I get 3 stars.
Oh, okay.
And I've gone and I have like just gone into free flight mode or whatever and just looked for all of those feathers, looked for all of those fish.
Okay.
Like you can spend a very long time in this game.
There are ones that are damn near impossible to find.
Seriously, and it does keep track. Every time you get another feather, it's like oh yeah, you just got 123 out of 197 or something.
Yeah.
It's like what? What am I doing? And every time you kind of like open up a new area of the city, you're just like, well, here's another 125 feathers to find or something. It's crazy.
And it doesn't feel like it's just thrown in there. I mean, there's some thought put behind the placement. They're a little puzzle.
Yeah. And like I said, this is one of my favorite things to do in the game. So it's not just like a time waster. It's really fun to explore.
I will say another kind of negative. You'll probably look sillier playing this than you will almost any other game. If that matters to you, because you're going to be sitting there at your couch just kind of doing this.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, but that's kind of fun.
And this is my only real negative for the game. Isn't a knock toward the game. It's that there's multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
And so there's 3v3, and it's kind of capture the flag where you like have like an animal carcass or a fish or something that you're fighting over, and there's just I had this game at launch. I went at day 1, and day 1 I found one other person to play with. So this 3v3 multiplayer match was 1v1, and I'll tell you, it was pretty boring. Not because the game's boring, but because it's a 3v3 for a reason.
Right.
You need some other players. So if you do have friends to play this with, if you have other people who own this game, definitely play a game with them. Try to get a full game together.
Yeah.
I wonder if things have improved because the game has been on sale here and there, and
I don't know.
More people have bought PlayStation VR since back in November 8th.
Yeah.
Jeez, this game's old.
Yeah. No, it's one of the first ones out there.
Yep.
One other thing I want to throw in there, the music is actually really, really nice. It's got a very Cirque du Soleil vibe, but not like over the top. It's very kind of vocal and calming. Personally, it's what I think video game music should be. Like, I think if you notice the soundtrack, something's gone wrong. Yeah. The music should be there to kind of add to the environment. But yeah, so the music is really well done as well.
Yeah, it's subtle. I think that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Really well done.
So yeah, I guess
it's that time of the day.
Yeah, that's it.
What's our rating scale consist of, Desra?
Our rating scale is number 1. My brain just came to a slamming halt. I don't know why. All right, number 1. Yes, you have to buy this game. If you have a PSVR, this needs to be in your library. Stop listening to this now. Hit pause. Go buy. Well, like and share first, and then go buy the game. 2, it's okay. Hey, pick it up if you want to. If it's on sale, definitely pick it up. But you know what? You're not missing anything crazy, but it's fun. It's okay.
Yeah.
And 3 is, oh God, don't buy this. Do not reward these people for releasing this crap. And friends, don't let friends buy crap. Do not buy this. So, what do you say?
Hands down for me, no questions asked. This is a 1.
This is absolutely 1. This is, for me, it's very quickly become one of the most fun games I've played in PSVR. It's definitely cracked my top 10. It may even crack my top 5 yet. Cracked? Yes. Cracked my top 5.
Damn control scream.
Yeah, this is, okay, is it the most intense gaming experience you'll have? No. But can a game just be fun to be fun? Yes. So. And that's what this is. This is a fun game. This is a game if you've got, young kids or other family members who are like, hey, you're pretty sure they're not going to have motion sickness issues and you just want them to try out a fun game. Yeah. You just slap this on their head and let them go.
Yeah, and for the most part, PSVR has been out for months.
Yes.
Right? October, November, December, January, February. So it's been out for 16 months. Did I do math right?
That sounds good enough.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
16 months. And amazingly, there's not just a ridiculous number of games where you just fly around.
Yeah.
There's Megaton Rainfall where you get to be a superhero and you fly around. It feels good.
Yeah, but graphically it's not, it's
Megaton?
Yeah, in some ways it's more complex, but in a lot of ways it's just not nearly as beautiful as this.
No, I think it's technically more impressive than Eagle Flight, but I think aesthetically Eagle Flight blows it out of the water.
Yeah.
And just flying around, flying around feels fine in Megaton Rainfall, but there's something that feels very natural about this.
Yes.
And other than that, there's not a whole lot of other flying. There's of course, Ultra Wings, but you're flying something. You're sitting in a cockpit. You're flying a device of some sort, a contraption, an air vessel.
A fantastic contraption.
There we go. I wonder if we're gonna ever air that episode. And so this is I'm just so shocked that there's not more bird games out there where you fly around as a bird or more superhero games. This is just here you are. There's nothing between you and flight.
Yeah.
You are flying around the city. And this does it so elegantly. That's a good word.
Elegantly. Yeah, it is.
I can't recommend it enough. And again, you beat this game in 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been playing twice that long, and I still haven't beaten it.
Well, I can't consider it beat. I finished the story mode.
Sure.
I wouldn't even come close to saying I beat this game because there's so much left to unlock. So
yeah.
You want to know what it's like to fly like a bird? Buy this game.
I feel like we should sing.
Fly like an eagle.
Nope, we shouldn't sing after all.
Do the sea.
Nope. No. Fly like all right, you guys, that pretty much wraps it up for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR.
Fly like an eagle.
And make sure you comment below. Let us know what you think of Eagle Flight. And also, of course, let us know what other games you want us to talk about. We'll pick one every week and do it.
Do.
Never going to recommend that we sing again. As always, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Desra.
And we'll see you next week.